Turn off your phone, close the door, put on headphones, get your notebooks out. We are going to write. Welcome back to the Virtual Writing Academy. I thought I had tackled the most controversial issue already, but some of you reminded me that there is something else I have yet to talk about. At least, talk about it explicitly. So, I have a couple exercises all about it. I am excited. How about you? Before we begin though, for those of you joining in for the first time, this is the way class is going to work. I will give you a timed writing exercise. I will shut up, put on some music, and you will write. Once the time is up, you will stop writing and I will start talking again. Simple as that, rinse and repeat. Once we're done with both exercises, we will meet again and talk about our experiences. There's a little lesson hidden behind this exercise. Okay, actually it's the opposite of little, but I'm not going to tell you what it is until the end. Why? Because the best learning is done by doing. So, go grab your notebook or open up your writing software of choice. You can minimize the video if you want. I will tell you when to bring it back up. In the meantime, I will put on some music. Something a little serious. Are you ready? Before we begin, I want to remind you all that if you want to use your own characters for this exercise, that's okay. Today's lesson is a little controversial, so I don't expect many people to do so, but if you want to, you can. Feel free to use your own characters or use your own setting. You can change the actors and you can change the stage, but not the play. Again, you have my permission to use your characters and setting for this exercise. Whatever you need to get writing is fine by me. Now, let's take it from the top. The privileged. You will have 10 minutes to write in first person from the perspective of a member of the noble class. This character is rich, powerful, and influential. Explore their thoughts as they partake in a very mundane activity. The catch? This activity is purchasing a slave. Again, you will have 10 whole minutes to write from the point of view of a person of the highest social ranking. They are a member of the noble class. They have the wealth to never lift a finger, unless it is to punish their slaves, or rather, their property. Explore the thoughts of this character, their past and their present. Do they revel in the power given to them by their social status? Do they even realize how much power they have? And, above all, do they see this slave as another person, or as an object? Only you can answer these questions, dear writer. Oh, and remember, to have power does not make you good or bad. It is how we use this power that decides who we are. You're about to walk down a very dark alley, but it is precisely in the darkest of places where you will find the light. Steel yourself, writerly friend. The time to write starts... Actually, I would not toss you in there without a little help. Let me give you the first line. This story begins like this. I turned to the slaver and said, I will not pay any more than 3 ducats for the child. Now go, brave writer, into the darkest of streets. 60 seconds remaining. Time's up! Open up a fresh document or turn to a new page. We have a follow-up exercise. The other side. You will have 10 more minutes to write in first person from the perspective of the slave being purchased. Explore their thoughts as they are treated like an object to be haggled for. The catch? This character is just a child. Again, you will have 10 whole minutes to write from the point of view of a young character as they are sold to a noble. Explore the thoughts of this character, their past and their present. How do they explain what is happening to them? How do they justify being treated like a thing? And, worst of all, do they think that they deserve this treatment? It is only in the darkness where we will be able to find the light. Step into the shadows. Be brave. We will emerge on the other side together. You can do this. Let me help. This story begins like this. I knew what was going to happen next. I had seen it many times before. 10 minutes on the clock. Get set. Go. 60 seconds remaining. Alright, time's up, pencils down, fingers off the keyboard. If you minimized the video, bring it back up. Let's take a deep breath. I thought I had covered all of my bases with the previous video. I really did. But soon enough, this question came up, and I realized that I would have to deal with it eventually. So I decided to talk about it today. If you think that this lesson is about race, you are not right. Only partially right. This lesson is about society and the burdens it places on everyone, though some of us carry heavier burdens than others. There's a question I get all the time. One that I have tried not to talk about because it's a controversial issue. I don't think it should be. I think we should be able to look at society objectively and realize that some people get by easier than others. And yet, I get questions like this. I am a guy. How do I write a female character? Or, I am a girl. How do I write the male point of view? Or, I am Caucasian. How do I write an African American person without being offensive? There is something you need to understand. People are not different by nature. It is society that applies different burdens to different people. Social burdens are things like women should be thin, women should be submissive, women should be seen, not heard, women should be sexy, but not slutty, women should shave their legs. When people meet the burdens given to them, they are accepted. When they don't meet those burdens, they are ridiculed and declared as outcasts. These are not natural burdens. These are social burdens. It is society that creates these expectations and responsibilities and gives them to people. Do you seriously think that women and men are inherently different? Do you think that there is an inherent difference between Caucasians and African Americans? Of course not. If your response right now is to shake your head and say that men are different than women and that race does make people different, then I want you to stop for a second and consider this. Imagine a deserted island, far away from society and from the touch of anyone. In this island, there are only two people, an African American boy and a Caucasian girl. They are born on the island alone. They have no contact with the outside world. They live their lives without ever interacting with anyone but each other. Do you think that these two people would grow up with social burdens? Do you think the girl would grow up being told that she has to shave her legs and be thin and be submissive and be sexy but not slutty? Of course not. These are social burdens, constructs of society. They are nailed into our heads from the moment we are born. Boys are given swords to play with. Girls are given dolls to play with. Boys are told to be warriors. Girls are told to be moms. If a boy wants to be a mom, he is ridiculed. If a girl wants to be a warrior, she's ridiculed. Why? Because they are not doing what society tells them to do. Can you see the matrix now? I hope so. Now, what does this all have to do with the exercise? And with writing? You wrote about two characters, a noble with a limited set of social burdens, and a slave with an incredible amount of social burdens. Nobles are not inherently different from slaves. They are both people, human beings with feelings and needs and desires and dreams. But society told them they were different. The noble was born being told that they were above the rest. They didn't treat slaves as objects because slaves were objects. They treated them like that because society empowered them to do so. Society told them that they could do whatever they wanted to people below them. The slave was born into a world that robbed them of their ability to choose. It was society that branded them as things, as objects to be haggled for. Do you want to write from the point of view of someone different than you? Get in their head, understand them, and, above all, acknowledge the social burdens they have to carry on their backs. Whether they follow those expectations or ignore them, everyone still has to carry them. This is the hard part. If listening to this has made you very defensive, if the whole time you have been telling yourself, well, I have it bad too, then I think this is why you have trouble writing people who are different than you. You have to be able to understand others if you wish to write about them. And people who are not willing to acknowledge that society is not fair, and that society pushes great burdens on some people, then you will never be able to write from the point of view of another person. At least, not effectively. Again, if you wish to write about someone who is different than you, then you must be able to look at the world with their eyes and feel on your back the weight of the burdens society places upon them. Because we're all the same. We all have feelings and needs and desires. It is society that draws lines in the sand, separating people by the color of their skin, their disabilities, their heritage, and their gender. As a side note, I want you to remember that social burdens apply to all worlds and settings. Do you want to flesh out that fantasy world of yours? Then ask yourself what social burdens each fantasy race and gender carries with them. Just think about a male dwarf with no beard, who desires to live out in the open instead of underground. Do you think that they would be ridiculed? Or worse, mistreated for daring to be different? Think about that. If you ever want to experience this exercise again, you know where to find it. If you want to yell at me and call me all sorts of mean things, then you should go have a cup of tea. But if you have comments about this video, please leave them below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe if you want more. Also, if you want your daily dose of writing advice and prompts, you should head over to my blog. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.